It was warmer at 86 degrees north on Axel Heiberg Island in early part of July than it was in Vancouver. But we arrived on July 2nd, 2019, and the temperature went from about minus 21 or 22 degrees centigrade in June to plus 21 degrees. And the switch happened in just a couple of days. I'm Mark Jellinek. I'm a professor of geophysics in the Earth, Ocean, Atmospheric Sciences Department at the University of British Columbia. And my research is varied. I would say one of my major focuses is Earth systems science. I'm interested in the interconnections among the many different processes that act to control climate and climate change. We arrived in the Arctic with a plan to work on a project where we're trying to characterize the fingerprint of subglacial rivers in the landscape. We went there to do that, and we ended up doing something quite different. When the warming event started, we assumed it would just be a day or two. And so we worked round the clock thinking that storms would come and we'd go back to being normal Arctic. But the warming lasted for 3 weeks. And through that time, we watched Arctic permafrost melt and collapse. Processes that in textbooks take hundreds of years were happening in weeks. We watched channels form, rivers form, and so on. And the problem we ended up getting most absorbed by was polygons. Where do the polygons come from, and how do they affect the way the valleys actually form? What we saw right away from the air was water in valleys being routed around polygons, sort of 10-meter scale geometric polygons that are a consequence of that grow and change and move around in the landscape with freeze-thaw cycles. And so the polygons can control the way a river moves through the landscape. 60 years ago, there were no polygons in the valley at all. And what we learned is that the polygons that are controlling the evolution of this valley had emerged only in the last few decades, and really only since Arctic warming became amplified, probably since the 1980s. So the speed at which the landscape is changing is unbelievable. And it's sort of a harbinger of many things we haven't really thought about, which is simply how fast the response to Arctic warming and intensifying variability in the warming is doing.